Those in the know will tell you that winning this specific event you've just viewed is equal to winning 3 other rounds of the World Championship. There simply is nothing that compares to the Safari Rally in Kenya. And the great news is it's back. And it's back in 2021. And we'll be doing a series of programs to introduce our viewers and listeners to what it takes. And it is a mammoth task to get an event back on the World Rally Championship. South Africa's been trying with the Castrol Rally, the Sasol Rally, and most recently the Zulu Rally in 2007. And it's simply a case of if you don't have the government supporting you, it's not going to happen. But we'll let our guests tell us what it takes to bring back the Safari Rally. Co-host tonight, as always, Clint Lingeveld.
Hi, good evening, Patrick, and good evening to the audience tonight. It's a lovely Friday evening in Cape Town, and what better to talk about than rally? I'm very excited to have this discussion tonight about bringing, I think, one of the flagship events that's on the continent. Back to the continent, where it actually belongs, because it makes the WRC so much more interesting. So
it's not a world championship if it doesn't include athletes.
It doesn't include that, and so for sure. So I'm gonna shut up here and we bring in our guest, so we can get going, because I'm definitely looking forward to the nice discussion.
Indeed, and I hope I pronounce it correctly now. You called him Gurvir, so I'm going to stick to the Gurvir Bhabra. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
It's an absolute honor having you on the program tonight. As we have just mentioned, you have some great news for ralliers all over the world. Please inform them.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we've been away from the WRC for the last 19 years now. We should have had an event last year, but because of the pandemic, it had to get cancelled. So we never really stopped working on the event. We've been working. We stopped for about a couple of months, and then we started working again on the 2021 event.
The good news is, even though it wasn't part of the WRC since 2003, you had the last round of the actual championship in 2002, the event continued. So the basic running of the event continued. And coming back is almost simply doing it again, if I could put it that way. But it's not that simple.
No, we've been we got left behind in the last 18 years. 18, 19 years. I mean, WRC, the World Rally Championship evolved, and we got left behind. So it's been a mammoth task over the last 2 or 3 years, just trying to bridge that gap of where we were with say like an Africa Rally Championship, and trying to get towards a World Rally Championship.
If I may put that in perspective, in 1996, when it started off with special stages being run as part of this event, the winner had more than 12 hours of actual racing time behind his name to win that event. It decreased to 2002, where the winner had 8 hours of racing time behind his name. The point I'm trying to make is this has always been the ultimate adventure rally. Even on that video, it said that to win a Safari Rally is equal to 3 other rounds of the World Rally Championship. It was tough. It's demanding. It's hot. It's wet. It's cold. Anything you can throw at it will be in the Safari Rally. Now you've basically been forced to shrink the event, if I can put it that way. But it's still as demanding.
Yeah, it'll be demanding. It's not a straightforward. I don't think it's a straightforward event. It'll still have the old Safari elements in it. You might have the risk reward of the person that goes flat out from the start, and then it might benefit the person like the bodyguards of the past, where they would just sit and wait and then attack right at the end and finish first. So I think
You are the clerk of the course, so you're the correct person to call that. Which one of the two would you prefer to see happen?
I don't know, Patrick. I was privileged to see the new generation of WRC cars over the last couple of years when I was out in Rally GB, and the new these new WRC cars, the pedigree, they are just phenomenal. I mean, they're fast. I think they're fast. I'm sure they are faster than what the Group B cars used to be, and they're tougher than the Group B cars.
Yeah. So Gurvir, before we go there, right? And Patrick, before we proceed, I would just like to welcome Surinder, that has also joined us now. And I think it's quite a program. Good evening, Surinder.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah,
there's a man that takes that you're a man that takes after my heart. You're a navigator. I have to ask the question. We've just said that the Safari presents everything you can throw at somebody in a rally. Does that go for the navigator as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not an easy job for the navigator. He has to, besides read the notes, actually make sure the car is still running, because when the driver breaks it, it's the navigator that fixes it.
Yeah. But I want to ask Surinder, and I want to plot a path, really. WRC Kenya, or the Safari as we know it, started in 1969 and ran up to 2002. Can you maybe just give us a brief introduction in terms of how it started, which stages it ran, and how it has evolved? I think it's appropriate before we get into where it is today, because also there's lots of Kenyan heritage behind it. There's some names behind it, and I want to pronounce it correctly. Joginder Singh, 1974 comes to mind. There's Shekhar Mehta that comes to mind. All of those good names. So if you can just give us a glimpse, take us a bit back, and then I think we're on the right path.
Okay, the date of 1969 is probably an inclusion into some kind of a championship in the world, but the rally actually started in 1953. And this was during the coronation of the Queen Elizabeth, and they wanted to organize a motor rally, and the British government, which was the colonial government at the time in Kenya, said, no, you can't organize a motor rally. And they said, okay, we're going to organize a run around East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, 5,000 kilometers, or it was 3,000 miles in those days.
Yeah.
And the first one to get back to the finish is the winner. And so that's what they did. They had a run all through the three countries, and that's how the East African Safari started.
Yes.
And then along the line, I think it joined what was called the FIFA World Cup in those days, and it was about 1964 it joined the FIFA World Cup. And then it became a round of the World Rally Championship in 1979. And the first winner of that World Championship was Bjorn Weldegaard.
Yes.
And 79 was the first time the World Rally Championship actually came into existence. And then we've run it as part of an international championship way back from 1964 all the way to 2002. So it's a long run for this rally. We're probably, I don't know, Gurvir will correct me, but I think we're running the 67th Safari Rally, are we?
Yeah, I can't remember, Surinder. Not off the top of my head.
One thing that was amazing about that, listen to that distance, 5,000 kilometers. Would you risk a guess as to what vehicle won it, Clint?
No. I saw your face lit up, Patrick, and that's way before my time. So I'll leave that with you.
Well,
a VW Beetle.
Oh.
No, Patrick, you're wrong. In 1953, the winner was a Tatra.
Now you've got me, because it's the official results on the Wikipedia gives the 1953 Coronation Safari Rally as having been won by Alan Dix and Johnny Lawson in a VW Beetle.
Absolutely. You know, there were various classes, and the overall winner was actually DP Marwaha and Vic Preston Sr. in a Tatra from Czech.
Fantastic. Well, see, you can't always believe what you read in.
Wikipedia.
And Alan Dix did win his class, which was, I think, a 1600cc class or something. But the overall winner was a 3-liter Tatra.
Okay.
Unreal.
So take us. How did you manage at that time to get interest from the Europeans? Because what I have done is in 1972, Hanno Mikkeler won the rally, or the first European to win the rally in a Ford Escort RS 1600. Thereafter, the next European, I think, was Uwe Anderson, and then Björn Waldegaard. So Uwe Anderson was 1975, Björn Waldegaard was 1977. And from there onwards, it was just by default that the rally just ran.
Yeah, you know, the first international interest in taking part in an adventure was way back in the 50s. I mean, we used to get drivers coming out to participate in what was the East African Safari Rally at that time. Okay. And the most famous driver that used to come out was Eric Carlson in a Saab. And this was way back, you would take it back to 1962 or so. And then his wife, Patmos Carlson, there was a famous lady that came out in those days. And so international interest has been there all along in the Safari Rally. I mean, the first international winner, not an East African driver, was Hannu Mikkola, like you said, in a Ford Escort. And that rally actually started in Dar es Salaam. And we had started to rotate the start of the rally to Kampala, Dar es Salaam, etc. And this was just before Mr. Idi Amin came into Uganda and stopped everything.
Yeah.
So this thing, international participation has been taking place from way back. Yeah. And 72 was only the first international winner, but participation has been there.
Yeah.
Something else that makes your event totally unique, or has made it totally unique, is the fact that you basically ran this event on open public roads. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But we must remember that in those days, the population of Kenya was something like about 10 million people. And today we have 45 million. We have motorcycle taxis in every village. And so open road rallying is not possible anymore.
Yeah.
Even our National Rally Championship is now run on closed roads. And the Safari Rally, as the World Championship comes back this year, will be run on closed roads as well.
Yeah. On private estates, yes.
So those incredible images of rally cars flying through the air with Kilimanjaro in the background, or a giraffe in the background, or something unique in the background, that will be retained forever, I trust.
No, we will have animals in the background for sure, because these private estates are full of wild game. But certainly not Kilimanjaro. That's too far away now.
Well, it's such a small mountain, you'll be able to see it from anywhere in the world.
Yeah. So maybe just progressing then a few years forward. The last rally was held in 2002, where the great Colin McRae and Nicky Christ won the rally. And they won it in a Ford Focus. I'm not sure, I can't remember if that was the first rally that they've done in the Ford Focus, and they basically won it. I know there was, at the time, there was lots of question marks whether to compete and whether they will win it, and even if the car will last. So the question stems from the road conditions that you said. It's as private estates, and I've been to Kenya. I was fortunate enough, or still is fortunate enough, to visit Kenya quite regularly, and those are some of the pristine roads in that. And in the past, during the 2002 era, you normally need to have a special build car for the Kenyan rally. You had your WRC car, which was you could set it up for tar spec or for gravel spec. Is it for this particular event, do you need to have a special safari car, or can you come with your normal, well, not standard, but your equivalent rally car?
Gurvir, you should answer this one.
Well, over the last couple of years, we've seen the Rally 2 cars, the R5s, competing across the Africa Rally Championship, and we have quite a few numbers that do the Kenyan National Championship, and they do quite well on the roads and the conditions that we have locally. And if you can imagine the difference between a Rally 2 car, which is the R5 car, and the WRC car, it's immense. So the WRC car is actually a lot stronger than the R5, and if the R5 can handle the conditions that we have here, the WRC cars shouldn't have a problem.
No, for sure. And it makes sense. So maybe take us through the classes that you're expecting to come to the rally, and also maybe some of the big names that's coming. And then obviously now we have WRC, we have WRC2, we have the juniors. But I think each and every viewer that dials into the safari will be interested in the classics. I know I'm rubbing Patrick's back there already. So, the classics as a special point, and then also how does us as Africans participate in the event? The likes of the guys from Namibia, South Africa, even higher up, that's maybe closer to Kenya. How do we do that?
See, unfortunately, the classic cars can't compete in the WRC event. They just don't comply to the safety standards.
Okay.
To NXJ. So we have.
Sorry, you do run a classic event on its own for that purpose.
Yes, they run an event once every 2 years.
Okay,
but
we'll
it
get
won't
to
be.
that one.
Yeah. But, no, the reason why I'm asking the question is because in some of the other WRC events that I've attended, so they normally have some of the classic cars that opens the road. So you have the 0 car, 00, and that, and they have some of the classic Porsches and the Evos and everybody that comes in ahead of the team basically opens the road, especially maybe on the first day, and maybe then at a later stage they put him at the back. So can we anticipate something like that?
No, let me just answer that. What happens in Europe is that when special stages are run twice during one day, to stop spectators from starting to move away and start walking in the road, etc., they then put the classic cars in between the two loops.
Yes.
And that's the reason why you see some classic cars in Europe.
Exactly.
But I think we have the terrain or the time to be able to run a classic rally in between the two loops that we are doing because every stage, every day, there's 3 stages run twice.
Yes.
And it's in between the 3 stages that they used to run the classic cars in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's the reason.
Just for the benefit of our viewers, please make a brief comparison between what the Safari Rally was and what you're going to have now coming into this year. As far as the schedule of how many stages, the distance covered. We've already said it's no longer open roads. The format is shorter. How much shorter? You're repeating stages, which hardly ever happened in the past. How did you adapt to meet modern WRC criteria?
Gurvir, that's for you.
Thanks, Sundar. Well, like I said, we've as much as we've been away from the WRC, we've been hosting the Africa Rally Championship since 2002 in place of the WRC. So we've been running events on the closed roads, like Sundar said, and when we looked at the new regs for the WRC, it wasn't difficult to adapt our roads, the sections, the stages we wanted to, the itinerary that WRC wanted.
And you're running I see a beautiful central service park. So you're taking to heart this whole WRC concept now.
Yeah, we have to run a central service park. It's part of the requirements for WRC, and everything runs off a cloverleaf as it has for the last since 1999, surrender, or 98.
Yeah, service box is now integral in the World Rally Championship because the teams base themselves in the service park, and the rally cars just go and do loops around it. So that is one of the aspects that is critical in the organization of a World Championship event these days. There is only one central service park. And if they do go very far away, they are allowed a remote refuel and sometimes a remote tire, but they're not allowed to have a service outside the service park.
Okay.
So sadly, we will no longer see cars coming out of the stage on 3 wheels.
Yeah, well, that happens because they hit the knock and, the drivers don't know how to lift off sometimes. But one thing I want to say, Patrick, you asked for a specific difference of the old Safari Rally to the new Safari Rally. The old Safari Rally had a competitive distance of about 2,000 kilometers.
Sure.
And the new Safari Rally this year is going to have a competitive distance of about 330 kilometers.
Okay.
So that matches up nicely with the whole format everywhere in the world now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really 3 times around the car park, but that's what it is.
It sounds disappointing compared to the previous safari rallies. You have the sense of adventure. You sort of know you're going to bleed before you get to the end of this event. Certainly, what has changed now it's really a flat-out rally like any round of the World Championship.
Not really, because there's still so many rocks and ditches, etc., that they can hit, and they will be coming out with 3 wheels very often. I can promise.
So Africa will be demanding, irrespective.
Yeah.
I can see all the World Championship drivers moaning like hell after the recce.
Is it? So we have 330 kilometers of stage distance, right? And what numbers are we looking at in terms of total distance and liaison between
about 1,200 kilometers total distance.
Okay, we can work out the liaison from the can do the math.
About 815 kilometers.
Yeah. Okay, and that's good. And the longest stage?
Longest stage is 30. Where is Kidong? 1 second, I can't remember. It's about 33.
Yeah. Is it Kidong?
Yeah, just under 33 kilometers.
Yeah, Kidong, yes.
Kidong. Okay, yeah, it's about 33 km. Yeah.
That's also half the distance it used to be.
Yeah.
But Patrick, I mean, to organize a 33-kilometer stage with the new rules that we have to comply with in medical safety and spectator safety, it's like organizing a full rally in the national championship.
That's exactly why I made that comparison now. I would like you to explain what it requires to run a World Rally Championship stage at this on an event in the modern era. In the past, you ran 60-kilometer stages and basically started the cars and waited for them on the other side. Occasionally, a works team would have a helicopter track their cars, that type of thing. But there was no hidden controls or ambulances halfway through the stage or anything of that wasn't required in those days. They might have been eaten by lions by the time the cars got there in the past. Now, the whole thing has changed. Please explain to us what has changed.
We go for it.
Mainly, like Sundar said, there's a lot of emphasis on safety of the crew, safety of the public, and intervention of stricken crews in the stages. So we are mandated to have a medical and a mechanical intervention vehicle every 10 minutes away. So that would be about 5 to 6 kilometers within the stage. We'll have an ambulance and a vehicle capable of disincarceration of a vehicle. And including with that,
that is quite demanding. That's a
Yes.
whole lot of, that puts a new
Yeah,
perspective on what is required behind the scenes, and that's what we often
see
don't
yeah,
see as supporters.
one of the medical requirements is to be able to airlift or get a stricken driver from the stage to a level 5 hospital within 60 minutes. So everything that we do on a safety plan is actually designed around that. So we have helicopters on standby for air evacuations, ambulances, and like I said, the cutting up cars. And then there's lots of communications, different lines of communication. We have everything filters to the rally control. So all the communication comes from the rally control out to every stage post. The time controls, the starts, the stops, flying finishes, the ambulances, the helicopters. So everything is controlled from the rally control.
Okay, and maybe just if we can just take one step back before we start the rally in that, especially under COVID conditions at the moment, traveling is quite limited in that. Is there any special arrangements made to for competitors to come into Kenya? I'm not sure if Kenya's borders are locked at the moment. We don't know whether it will be during the time. What kind of arrangements are in place for those kind of conditions?
Well, the COVID-19 regulations were brought up about 6 months ago, and the F1 teams put a lot of work into the guidelines and protocols of COVID-19, and it's been adapted by all the international sports at the FIA. So basically, we'll just be following suit, where we have a high density area within the service park, and low density areas. Low density areas would be people on the stages and stuff that would not interact with the high density. To get into the high density area, everyone would have to have a PCR test 96 hours before they come into the high density areas. So we're just following with what the other WRC events do and what's regulated on Appendix S of the FIA regulations.
That's very good. That's very good. And I think the big question for as a rallyist and a huge fan, spectators. And I know under COVID at the moment it's difficult. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. But if we can just give us a brief maybe on spectator points, accommodation, is there any packages available for people that would like to come and visit your country and watch the event?
Yeah, I mean, what as organizers, what we've done is we are working as if we'd have spectators on the event. So we have specific spectator areas on during every day, over all 3 days, including the shakedown. When it comes to packages and stuff, Kenyans were very good with our tourists.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find to get that sorted out of online with hotel bookings and tour operators and hire cars and stuff like that.
Okay, that sounds very exciting. That's very exciting.
That's the other element of the value of this event to Kenya. It's not just about presenting a motorsport event. It's also promoting a beautiful country. And I really believe that as far as nature is concerned, you're almost unrivaled with what you can offer the tourist. Do you see many people visiting the country and making a holiday of it after the event or before the event and really mix and match the two?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. I mean, the background that WRC Plus and its subscribers will get will be different. Will be different to what subscribers see in Europe or in Americans and so forth. We like in Africa. We're unique. We have a unique landscape. We have unique animals around us. So I think that's what subscribers on WRC Plus want to see.
I can add to Kenya that's very unique, because when you walk into the Kenya airport and the first thing you see is a rally car on a painting with a giraffe. When I saw that the first time, I knew I'm at home.
I think that sort of sums it up as far as it's rally cars and beautiful nature. But you are going to have a complaint or two from the competing crews. In the past, they had lots of time to enjoy the nature. Now you're giving them very little time to do that because now they have to concentrate on getting to the finish.
I'm sure they'll have enough time to come back.
As a navigator, in the past, the concept of running such a long event, you just said you had to be the mechanic, you had to be the man doing all the work around the car. But did you at least have the time on those events to occasionally sit back and simply enjoy the view as well?
No, that's very difficult to do when your driver is driving at as fast as he can, and you're scared that he's going to go off. So,
I don't believe you for 1 second that you were ever scared. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sat there.
so actually enjoying the view is not really an option. But certainly during the classic safari rally, we do enjoy the views, and some classic drivers actually stop to take photos of the view.
I think at this point it's appropriate to allow Patrick that we can maybe just discuss the safari rally, please.
The real
or portion
safari.
of the classics.
The classic, yeah. So, not getting personal, but you're possibly old enough to be able to compete in both.
I don't think you need an age to compete in classic rally. The car has to be old enough, but the driver can be.
Take us to the classic rally. How does that differ from the traditional safari rally? Obviously, the emphasis is on reliving an era, so it's not going to be as demanding. It's not going to. But if I look at Bjorn Wardegaard and his Porsche, you make him work for it.
Yeah, well, in 2002, when we lost the World Rally Championship, we started the historic Safari Rally, the classic Safari Rally in 2003. And I'm the one who started it. So I ran it from 2003 to 2013. And it's still running. And apparently I heard today that the classic rally that's going to be in November this year has already got 53 entries, which is a very good sign. Yeah, it's a very good sign.
When you started off, how many entries did you have in it?
Well, the first year we ran with 48, and the second year was 54. And then eventually we got to above 60 all the time. But then, you can only run 60 cars as a limit because at 3-minute intervals, because of dust, that's 3 hours between the first car and the last car. And then the first car is actually going sort of 2 or 3 hours faster than the last car. So at the end of the rally, he's 6 hours ahead.
Dust, well, you said it now. I'm going to have to ask the question. Dust, how much of a role does that play? Even now with the WRC, how much of a problem are they going to have with dust?
Well, we are running 3-minute intervals in the WRC as well because the dust hangs quite a lot, and you can't really have people driving in the dust because it's not fair. And so for that reason, Gurvir has limited the entry to 50 cars maximum.
Okay.
And on that topic, tell us more about the entries that you expect now.
Yeah.
Or are you at liberty to discuss that at this stage yet?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, because if you enter the World Rally Championship, you're obliged to come to the Safari Rally.
Yeah.
So certainly, I mean, every team that is entered has 2 cars. And so we're going to have 8 cars straight away as works cars. And then some of those teams run a 3rd car. So I reckon in WRC cars, we'll probably have 12 and maybe 15, including the privateers. And then Gurvir, I mean, on R5, what do you think?
R5, because this year will be part of the WRC too as well. So we should be getting quite a few numbers, not just from the region, but from overseas as well. So we're looking about maybe 30.
Shekhar Mehta still holds the record for the most wins in the Safari Rally. I think he had 5. It's quite an achievement over almost going up to 66, 67 years now. And it's still a local driver holding the record for the most wins. It must be something that leaves you guys proud.
Yes. Checker was a great driver, but at the end of the day, the rally that Checker Method took part in and what we're going to have this year is two different things. I mean, to drive at speed in over 5,000 kilometers and win the old style Safari Rally, that required a special kind of person.
Yeah.
And
He drove a Datsun. That's why.
It would then be fair to say that you are starting with on a new page. The Safari, as we knew it and enjoyed it, that's forever something of the past. You are really going into a new era with this event now.
Gurvir?
Sorry, I didn't catch you.
It would be fair to say that the old Safari is part of history now. You are really moving into a new era with this event now. This is something new to look forward to. It's going to build its own history. It's going to build its own heritage. There's actually no way of comparing what you have now to what it was.
No, you're right there. You can't compare. Look at how motorsports, any kind of motorsports evolves. Look at where Formula One was in the last 10 years, and look where it is today with the halos and the restrictions on the engines. It's the same thing for WRC. Same thing for the Dakar. So everything evolves. You just have to keep up with it.
One thing I can add to that is that the Safari Rally today is running as a World Championship rally after 19 years. Now, 19 years in most people's lives is almost a generation. And the generation has changed. So if you go to ask any 25-year-old Kenyan, do you remember Shekameta? Do you remember Rano Altonen and Bjorn Waldegard? And they don't really know them because the generation has changed. So us oldies remember the old, Safari Rally and the greats that we had, but I'm afraid the young people don't. So it's something that is sad, but it's a reality. It's life. Times have changed.
Indeed, and it's become much more expensive as well. So it's a bit of a low blow asking this question, but surely there must be some aspiration to see another Kenyan step up to this level of the sport again.
We'd love to, but in Africa, not only Kenya, we don't really have grassroots motorsport bringing young people into the sport. Look at your South African drivers. I don't think you have a young South African driver anymore. Maybe in racing and karting, but certainly not in rallying. So we've failed in that aspect. We don't have a grassroots introduction level of rallies coming into the sport. And the FIA started a new program called the Rally Star, and we're going to hold the final of the Rally Star in November in South Africa. And so that would be one opportunity to bring some new young talent from Africa into the sport.
I spoke to Steve Harding earlier today, and he actually mentioned this to me, and it would be great to involve all those participating in this Rally Star in future programs and see how this new concept is growing. Because I'm convinced that it's an ideal situation for a youngster to get involved in the sport. It's just too expensive any other way, unless you are fortunate with a lot of backing to get to this level.
Motorsport is a rich man's sport. There's no doubt about that. You're not going to bring somebody from lower levels of income into this sport. And it's been like that forever, and it's not going to change. So rallying is expensive, but then that's the way it is. There's rich people need to play as well. And that's the way life is.
It's a nice way of putting it, but it's a reality game. It's a reality check. No Bucks, no Buck Rogers.
Absolutely.
Clint,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to sell a few more cars.
I'm being reminded that we're on social media, and the most important part of the discussion is our viewers also. So we have a few viewers' comments here. We have Carl Peskin, which is a very well-known navigator. He was one of the X-Factory navigators. We actually raced in one of the same teams at one stage. So Carl asked about the distances and liaison, and I think we've covered that already. And then I have an old friend here, Mike Nathan, also commenting, asking if anybody's interested in the Immaculate Eva 9. And then, of course, we have Lee Rose. Stephen commented to say that Lee Rose is doing a classic rally in his home country this year. And I know Lee Rose is in his yellow Escort in South Africa. It's you can't sleep after that. You dream about driving the car like he does. So for sure, I don't know if there's any other questions, maybe from our Kenyan audience. Please feel free to post it, or even anybody from in the continent. I know there's a huge viewer audience tonight. So really put out the questions out there, and we're here to participate in the discussion.
What are your expectations for this event, Surinder? What would you see as the let's call it the goal for the 2021 Safari Rally? What would you like to see being achieved here this year?
Okay. Bringing a world championship event to the continent is the biggest plus for Africa as a continent. We have only one other world championship event. It's the World Touring Cars that runs in Marrakesh in Morocco.
And the World Rallycross in the Cape.
And the World Rallycross in the Cape, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
So we have 3 events. And what we want to achieve out of this event in Kenya is 2 things. One is direct spending. When the teams come to Kenya, they do direct spending. And we are looking at a direct spend of about $15 million that will be done in Kenya by spectators, by others, teams, etc. And then the indirect spend comes from the viewership on the World Rally Championship television. And the figures the World Rally Championship television put out are sometimes not believable, but they're talking about an audience of at least 25 million people watching the event and watching the World Rally Championship as such, and that includes the Safari Rally. Now, if you take that value and evaluate it in money terms, then Kenya gains something like around $200 to $250 million in viewership and time. So what we're hoping is, over 3 years, is that this event will become a sort of self-justified. The government is putting in the money at the moment, but they're not going to put in money forever. We actually have to justify that the value the rally is going to give Kenya as a country and Africa as a continent actually is worth the spend. And the spend is high. I can tell you, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know from Cape Town what it costs to run a World Rallycross. And now we have a new promoter in World Rallycross, and that new promoter is going to be even more expensive because it's the World Rally Championship promoter.
Yeah.
The World Rally Championship promoter has taken over the World Rallycross promotion. So this year's Cape Town event will be run under a different promoter.
Yeah.
So
Would it be fair say then, based on what you've just said, that the loss of the East African Safari, the Safari Rally, was basically a safety issue more than anything else. The long distances, the demands and everything. It wasn't because it was unpopular or anything. It was a fantastic event.
No. We lost the World Rally Championship because the world changed its formats and its way of looking and marketing the championship. The World Rally Championship didn't want long distance endurance events anymore. They wanted to go to short special stage events which could be televised, because you cannot televise a 5,000 kilometer rally or a 3,000 kilometer rally.
Yeah.
So they wanted an event which became a TV show. And at the moment, in fact, that's all this World Rally Championship Safari Rally is going to be. It's going to be a TV show. And in fact, it's not the flow of a rally anymore. The flow of a rally means you do one special stage and you go into the next special stage, which is the shortest liaison distance. But that's not what Gurvir was supposed to put together. They told him to do a special stage, then travel the longest liaison distance and do that stage, and then come back to the one next to it, next to the first one. And the reason for that was that the television crews could then move between stages and actually be able to film it.
Yeah.
So it's all about television. It's not about rallying anymore.
But it comes back to your point that you mentioned earlier on in terms of the amount of money that the revenue it brings, not just for the country and for the continent, but just think about it, how much money it brings for the sponsors of the various teams. So as team principals, they've got a responsibility towards their sponsors, their manufacturers, and at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, like you pointed out earlier on. And even if you look at the ERC at the moment, it's the exact same. So they call it the rally circus. It moves around for entertainment. So and that's the real reason behind it. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, if a couple of years ago, what we're doing here now wouldn't have been possible. We are sitting in our respective homes, quite a distance from each other, yet we were able to communicate and chat about an event that's happening very far away from me. But I think that's where the value of television lies. You've got more spectators on TV than you could ever have at the event itself.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And we have a question here from Stephen. He's asking how many classes will there be in the WRC or in this event?
Classes, well, we have Rally 1, Rally 2, Rally 3, and Rally 4.
Not
So
four classes.
4 classes plus we'll be running some national cars as well towards the back. So any cars with current homologation that comply to the regulations.
Okay.
Surinder, you mentioned that, and that I think we're failing everywhere with grassroots events, growing new people into the sport. It's a difficult sport to establish a regional championship in order to get people up there. The Rally Star Academy thing is going to hopefully make a big difference to that. But we've also seen you guys compete in South Africa as part of the African Rally Championship. What value did you see in, other than just scoring points, but the cross-pollination between the two countries? Was it worth something as far as organizing is concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly, besides the organization, let me just go to the competitor. South African competitors were very competitive. And any African who went and participated in South Africa suddenly realized that his speed was nowhere near what was required to be. And so, I mean, when Satwan Singh from Zambia came to South Africa, besides reliability, on sheer speed, the South Africans were much faster. And Satwant used to get reasonable results because of reliability. and just hanging in there and finishing well. And so, definitely competition-wise, the benefits of coming to South Africa were immense for the rest of the continent. And promotion-wise, South African motorsport has been a very closed shop motorsport. Although you have had good television on Supersport, it's I don't know if the sponsors actually got value in the continent. I think they got a lot of value in South Africa, like Sasol, for example. Sasol was a brand in South Africa, and then they got a lot of value there. But I don't think Sasol would have got continental value out of participating in the African Rally Championship, for example. So certainly, I mean, right now we are looking for a promoter for Africa. And the promoter, the ideas we've been thinking about is somebody that's already got a footprint in the continent, like MTN, for example. MTN is in many parts of Africa. So things like that. So that's what we're looking at now.
If I can add to that, we had the privilege to speak to Hannes Grobler and not Hannes Grobler, Piet Swanepoel regarding the East African Championship foray. And when they won the African Championship and they went to Monaco to receive their awards at the FIA, Piet actually said that this was the most emotional day of his rallying career. Yet, from a South African perspective, we hardly knew about it. We couldn't follow the African Championship as such. Not only was it in Africa, but there wasn't much feedback from the media. There wasn't any way of following the event. Once again, I think the modern era has been friendly to the sport on the African continent. Suddenly, the African Championship has become better known. It's easier to follow. We've seen more South Africans participate in it. We've had Fernando Rueda, we've had John Williams, and those guys compete in many rounds of your championships. Unfortunately, the South African Championship is not very healthy at the moment, but I would like to see some more of the African guys coming to South Africa and participate here as well. Do you see a future for this?
Yes, definitely. There is a future. This year, the Rally of South Africa is going to be the last round of the African Rally Championship. And we are trying to coordinate it in such a way that it runs 1 week before the Rally Star final, which we're going to hold in South Africa. And then the idea being that the drivers that come to compete in the rally can actually stay on for the finals of the Rally Star program. So we are looking at some international interest in South Africa this year, which will be pretty good. And the best participant we have at the moment is Guy Bottrell from South Africa, who is already leading the African Rally Championship because his results of Ivory Coast last year are actually counting for this year.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, you basically answered everything I wanted to know there. Clint, your turn.
Yeah, so what we discussed I'm just looking at time here and respecting everybody's time. I know it's Friday evening. Just for the benefit of the audience also, we're planning on having a discussion about the Kenya Rally once a month leading up to the event, and I think that's very exciting. So what we're planning on bringing is more people from your organizing committee, some potential competitors, interviewing them, getting a perspective about what's happening behind the scenes, and really building on this. So it's really exciting, and I really look forward to having more discussions about the Kenya Rally. And I think also it's appropriate at this time to thank yourself that came onto the show. Unfortunately, I must apologize also for Phineas. He unfortunately couldn't make it this evening. I think he just had a prior engagement. But again, there's more opportunities coming up next time. We will definitely invite him back also.
I see Steve Harding's come online as well. He says, good to see you guys online and good luck for WRC.
Thank you.
Well, as we said, we would love to continue with this program in future for about once a month, expand on it. We want to get Steve Harding on board and chat about the rally stop progressing. So we can only wish you guys everything of the best. Thank you for taking the time and trouble to join us on this program tonight. We sincerely hope that everything runs trouble-free and that the safari becomes what it was and better.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Kyle,
Kyle?
thank you very much. Behind the scenes, we've got a NASCAR driver, Kyle Bush. Not really, but he carries the same name. But he does a brilliant job behind the scenes for us. Thank you, Kyle. Tonight, we're really putting you to bed early, but we're going to do this many times over going into the Safari Rally. Thank you very much for everybody being on board tonight, and we'll chat again soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Good night.